And Masonry is built on building King Solomon's temple, which is the temple within. And so the interlaced triangles have an up and a down, plus a horizontal. Freeze. Oh.
You are allowed to have water at the Henry S. Olcott Memorial Library.
Thank you. So, as you know, triangles have 3 sections, and I've always been interested in triangles because this is one of the first symbols that the Rosicrucians study. So one of my friends told me. My mother and my father and I are each one of the fire signs. So you can imagine, and being firstborn, we had 3 fire signs going in the family. So at any rate, the symbols in the Henry Steele Olcott Library, Memorial Library and Research Center, for our theosophical symbol, are the interlaced triangles. It's right in the dead center of the symbol. But if you take away the horizontal bar, what you end up with is the Masonic symbol. And since this was started from what could be considered a more Hebrew type of form, of which it has some instances of that in the ceremonies, this book indicates that this is how the symbol evolved from interlaced triangles to square and compasses, which everyone is familiar with.
You know, it's very interesting just hearing you talk. I've noticed that you are kind of taking, it's like this library has a lot of eclectic, wide variety of spiritual interests that are covered, and it looks like you've gotten your money's worth over the years.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
So, as you also look at the interlaced triangles, there's an upward triangle, there's a downward triangle. And of course, in the theosophical symbol, they're integrated. The point at where these touch is very much like the Christian symbol of the cross. Okay. The whole idea is where they intersect, the point at which they intersect. They are neither vertical nor horizontal. They are neither A or not A. They are neither black nor white. They're neither day or night. They're the pairs of opposites coming together and existing simultaneously. And if we can get ourselves to that point, that's the whole idea of meditation. That's the answer. What am I doing here? What is the purpose of life? It's knowing the up and the down and where they meet. It's where the dawn and the dusk come. It's neither day nor night. It's where they both exist and they both don't exist. So that to me is one of the great mysteries of life. Annie Besant wrote a book that we do have here in the Henry Steele Olcott Memorial Library and Research Center, and it's called Esoteric Christianity. It's published by Theosophical Publishing House. And in that book, she talks about the Great Pyramid and also about the Masonic initiation of 3 days, how that comes after Christ died, rose again 3 days later from the dead, all based on Masonry and Egyptian rites and rules and regulations. So if you were to read that book, Esoteric Christianity, that'll give you some whopper details and also some interesting things to further your studies as you walk up and down the aisles. And let those books speak to you here in the Olcott Library.
So I know that meditation is very important to you, and that you've sort of crystallized a couple of these books into a couple aphorisms. But reading has also been important as part of your spiritual path.
Well, I think reading is a part of everybody's spiritual path.
Yeah.
And whether you're touching the pages itself, whether you're reading it at night, like the way Edgar Cayce did, whether you've got your nook and cranny from the Olcott Library, or anywhere else that you pick up information, somehow we need all these spiritual teachings to help us on our journey. And eventually, we're going to just amalgamate all of this into who we are and how we share with everyone else. Now, also, if you come to the Henry Steele Olcott Memorial Library and Research Center, I love that name, because it is a research center, and it's a place where you can come and stay for research. You don't have to be here on the staff or just walk in for a day. If you go to the basement, it's just like going to the basement in the Louvre. You find all the goodies that really are like a foundation. And in the basement, I had the extreme privilege of working for the archivist, Janet Kirshner, for several months, as well as working for the library. And in the library, in the basement, there are publications written in different languages. And one of my favorite publications is At the Feet of the Master. And I love to collect and read those publications in different languages. And I know we have it in Spanish and French and Portuguese. I think we have it in Russian and Chinese, and we may even have it in Japanese here in the library. But at any rate, there's a part in that book that I will end with in just a minute, which sums up everything in my life. But also in the basement of the Alcott Library, there's the issues of the American Theosophist and the Adyar Theosophist. When I was working in the membership department for 20 years, I made a project for myself to read all of the issues from day one to...
We're talking about a lot of issues.
Yes, and I love to know what lodges and study centers were started or folded, or what groups were doing, because, you know, the Theosophical Society is made up of people, flesh and blood. Their thoughts, their loves, their desires, their interests, their excitement like mine. And in one of these issues, I discovered that when this building was finally completed, they had a mortgage. And to help pay for that mortgage, they would send to members vegetarian food. So you could send in your order to Alcott, which is our name for this campus, and the staff would send you vegetarian food. And in those days, you couldn't just go to the grocery store and get tofu or any other kinds of fake meat. And that was a big service, and part of that helped pay for the mortgage on this great, fabulous building. Also in the basement are the some of the issues of the International Theosophist, which comes from Adyar. And of course, I loved reading their final version at the end of every year. They published a one of their issues, which consolidated all the reports from every theosophical section throughout the world. Of course, included the report from the American section, which, when I was working in membership, was something that I had to prepare. So this was also fun to touch base in print with how many members were in the Spanish section, or in the Brazilian section, or in the Philippines section, or the Netherlands section. So this gave me an idea that theosophy isn't just here with me or in the library, it's universal, it's everywhere. So when we meditate in the morning, we send energy out to all our theosophical brethren throughout the world. I'm going to cry here in a moment if I say this too much longer, because it comes from the heart, and it goes to the heart of all of those that make up the Theosophical Society. Otherwise, why would we be here? And that brings me to the last book, At the Feet of the Master, which is published, I think, in just about every language possible.
Just about everywhere, yeah.
Well, in the very beginning of that book, the very first book that I had, tiny little pocket size, it fits right in your pocket.
So just in case somebody's new to this book, which is rare, but let's say there's somebody who's not that familiar with Theosophy, At the Feet of the Master, of course.
In my opinion, even when I went to Sweden and Australia and New Zealand, At the Feet of the Master was the first book that everybody suggested anyone interested in the Theosophical Society should take a look at. It kind of sums up all kinds of things.
What kind of stuff does it talk about?
Oh gosh, it talks about everything from A to Z.
Written by... Well, it's written by Krishnamurti or Alcyone.
Alcyone, as he was called in the olden days. And we'll let you research that in a few other books in the Henry Steele.
Written when he was very young.
Very young. Very young.
And written
he was
with some help.
Yes,
written with some
help. But let us not give away all the secrets, because that takes away the suspense.
It really is an incredible book.
It is an incredible book. The beginning page, on the inside cover of that book, there is a small little prayer. I first learned it in Sanskrit when I happened to be in Adyar at the center there, and did some research on it later on. And this comes again to A and not A, plus and minus, positive, negative, day, night, everything being together, working simultaneously. And the story that goes along with this little prayer in the very beginning is that a woman lived with her husband, who was a very religious and spiritual man. But, like all women, all we think about is, serving and washing dishes and preparing meals and taking care of the kids and all that sort of thing. That's where the brain was going on at the time of this story. Well, one day she was bringing some tea and crumpets to her husband, and she opened the room where he was. She saw him floating in the air in the meditative pretzel position. And you can research that as one of the yoga positions. We won't give you any more hints. But he was floating in the air in the pretzel yoga position in meditation. She had never seen this. She had no idea even that he meditated. This was totally, completely a surprise. She put her tea and crumpets on the floor. She bowed down in prostration to him, and she said, "Oh, you are my master. Asato ma sadgamya, tamaso ma sadgamya, mrityur ma amritam gamya. Lead me from the unreal to the real. Lead me from darkness to light. Lead me from mortality to immortality." And so, anytime I come into the Olcott Library, here on the campus of the Theosophical Society, I can feel the vibrations of the Great Pyramid in Giza. I can feel the vibrations of the Louvre. And that mantra, the Gayatri mantra, I can hear it singing in the walls. And when I walk in and when I walk out, every book, every thought form, every energy pattern in this library is just chanting, "Lead me from the unreal to the real. Lead me from darkness to light. Lead me from mortality to immortality." And if we can apply that little prayer to every book that we read, that to me sums it all up. Do come and visit, whether you're in person, online, or in meditation. We welcome you. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana Cabigting, certainly a very special person. I don't want to embarrass you, but really helped me tremendously when my mom was dying, helped me in spiritual ways, which I won't try to get into here. Just another person here who really practices what they preach. So thank you very much, Diana Cabigting.
Thank you.
Okay.
It has really been a pleasure, not only as a staff member and a co-mason and a priest in the Liberal Catholic Church. There are all kinds of very interesting subjects that you can find in the Olcott Library, from meditation to healing, prayers, different religions, different philosophies, and without this, we would just be in the unreal.
All right.
Thank you.
Featured favorites, Theosophical Society in America, Henry S. Olcott Memorial Library. Check out our library. Become a member. Thank you, Diana Cabigting.
Thank you.